Walter Stein, I'm sorry, a senior fellow of foreign policy at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Sir, thank you for being with us. Let's start with this. Ukraine desperately wants to be a part of NATO. They instead got the support of the G7, but not outright membership. Can you tell me what that means?
Yeah, President Zelensky of Ukraine was very eager for the NATO summit to extend an invitation to membership. He did not get that. He was somewhat petulant about that, at least initially. But I think on the whole, what he got was a very strong endorsement. Eventually, Ukraine will, I'm sure, become a member of NATO. But as President Biden pointed out, were they to extend an invitation now, while there's active hostilities underway, effectively that would bring all of the other NATO countries into the war directly because of Article 5 of NATO, which says an attack on one NATO country is an attack on everyone. So wisely, they have delayed an invitation, hopefully until the war can be brought to a conclusion. But I must say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say petulant was the word that you used when President Zelensky was really bemoaning why they weren't getting admittance to the organization. But did you think that diplomacy almost backfired on him, given how tenuous things are?
Well, I think there was a risk that it was going to backfire, but he made statements the following day, which were much more conciliatory, and he was very thankful for the aid. I mean, when you consider the amount of aid that the United States and the other NATO countries have provided to Ukraine and will have committed now to continuing to provide, President Zelensky has a lot to be thankful for. We are not going to let him fail. It's very important that this counteroffensive, which the Ukrainians are currently prosecuting, that it succeed. And of course, announcements were made not just by the United States, but by France and Germany and other countries of additional weapons that are going to be provided to help the Ukrainians succeed.
Well, just today, President Biden said that virtually Russia has already lost the war. What is the read that you're getting from Vladimir Putin and from Russia?
Well, you know, this whole affair turns out to have been a colossal blunder by President Putin. First, of course, he thought he could take Kyiv in a matter of days and that would be the end of the war. Obviously, that did not happen. Then NATO reacted by expanding. So now he's got a border with NATO that's about twice as long as it was previously, with Finland and Sweden now joining. Also, his forces are bogged down in the Donbass and in Crimea, and Ukraine is now trying to push them out. And there are now beginning to be signs that there's unrest in Russia itself. So altogether, this has been a colossal failure and a colossal blunder, and one can only imagine the end game.
Mitchell Wallerstein with the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Thanks very much for being with us.
My pleasure.